Welcome once again to SoCo Chat, a podcast where we hear directly from county leaders, discuss the latest news, and talk about all things concerning our beautiful corner of California known as Sonoma County. Hello and welcome to another edition of SoCo Chat. I'm your host once again, Paul Gullickson, Communications Manager for the County of Sonoma. Today we have as our guest Deva Marie Proto, who is the Clerk-Recorder-Assessor and Registrar of Voters for the County of Sonoma. But today we are primarily focused on her role as Registrar of Voters and overseer of our elections on Tuesday. But before we get to our discussion, I want to update you about our trivia contest. 2 weeks ago, during our interview with Grant Davis of Sonoma Water, we asked the following question. In 1955, Sonoma County suffered from heavy flooding that showed the urgent need for more flood control measures, which ultimately changed the scope of the water agency. On what holiday did that event occur? The correct answer is that the flood began on Christmas Day in 1955. And just for history's sake, the Russian River crested at just below 48 feet that year. That's amazing. We did not have a correct answer for that question, unfortunately, so that prize will go back into our merch vault. But there is a prize we are ready to give out for this week's question. Our question is this. The Bay Area saw a number of recall measures on the ballot on Tuesday. The question is, how many states, in addition to California, allow recall elections of state officials at any time? You might be surprised. If you do know, call us at 707-565-2242 or email us at publicaffairs, one word, at sonoma-county.org. And be sure to include your phone number so we can let you know if you won. Well, let's dive in. Well, Deva, it's been a crazy week. We had red flag warnings. We had power outages. We had all kinds of things out there. Oh, and by the way, we also had an election.
Just a little election.
Just a little bit crazy. It's another week in Sonoma County and our nation. Well, so tell us, how did everything go from your perspective?
It went really smoothly.
Oh,
so
good.
we had a really wonderful high turnout for in-person voters. So that was very exciting to see. And of course, we always got our last-minute rush of vote-by-mail ballots. So we are working on processing those. We did a lot of preparation for everything, and it really paid off. So,
well, I'm glad to hear now. Now, this is the first time that the Voters' Choice Act was in place for a presidential election in Sonoma County. Did you have any problems at the vote centers or the drop-off ballot boxes?
The ballot drop boxes were great. We saw high traffic throughout the election. The vote centers were great. We did, like I said, see some lines on election day just because of the huge turnout that we got.
Right.
We had about 12,000 people that voted on election day at the vote centers. So we did have some lines, and about 18,000 people overall. So we had a couple of isolated security incidents at vote centers, and then we had one power outage at a facility. Yes, that luckily they have a backup generator, so that didn't.
So they kicked right in, right?
Too much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't prohibit or inhibit anybody from voting.
Correct.
Yeah. So and as you and I were just talking before we went on the air, you did have a station set up here right in front of your office at the county center where people could just drive in and drop off their ballot, right?
Correct. Yes, and that went really well. We handled a large amount of traffic that day without impacting the traffic or on the campus too heavily. So.
Reminded me of the old days when people would drop off their tax returns at the post office before the deadline, before you could file electronically. So any complaints from voters?
I think we got some isolated complaints, people who hadn't registered and maybe didn't want to vote provisionally, but they had missed that deadline, or people that didn't like the lines. But we have some fantastic poll workers, and they were able to really handle that volume very well. So even though we saw long lines, we were able to get everybody processed.
And when we say long lines, I mean, we know of some states where the lines were like 3 hours long. We didn't have that.
No, but we did have some lines that were significant.
Okay.
So
okay.
I think the Finley Center, we had the last voter, I think, was finishing up about 9:30 p.m.
Oh,
so
wow.
an hour and a half after the polls closed.
Oh, wow. Well, again, the reminder of get your ballots in early, especially with the vote by mail. It's easy to just drop it in early.
Yes.
Okay. big question. Do you have an estimate of how many ballots you still have to count? And some are still coming in, right?
Correct. Right now, we're estimating that what we have in the office is about 104,000
Wow.
unprocessed ballots.
Okay.
So we have about 156,000 votes that are currently posted
Okay.
on our website. So if that holds, if we don't get any more, that would still be a 85% turnout.
Okay.
But we are expecting more. We can accept ballots back in the mail up to 7 days after the election, as long as they have that postmarked on or before election day.
Okay. Well, you just answered my next question. I mean, I just want to note that during the last presidential election, Sonoma County had the highest turnout of registered voters of any of the 58 counties in California. It was around 90.5. But now you're saying it's going to probably be about 85% is what you're saying?
That's just based on our current estimates.
Okay.
We will refine those as we work through all those unprocessed ballots. We don't know how many exactly there are until we actually go through, process, signature check them. And then, of course, as we receive more in the next couple of days. So we should be close to that, but I don't know if we'll hit it. We'll have to see.
Well, it's amazing how the North Bay, it's always Sonoma County and Marin County, or at least it seems that way, is always fighting for who gets the top voter turnout.
Yep.
And I think that shows, people here really care about these elections.
Yes, we have a very engaged community.
We sure do. Most of the outcomes, as we've seen, have been pretty decisive locally and nationally. But are there some races that are still too close to call, and it could change based on the final tallies?
Oh, absolutely. Technically speaking, all of them could change.
Well, I know, but in trends that tend to be that doesn't, especially ones that are already winning by 60 or 65% or higher.
Our office doesn't actually call any elections.
Right, I realize.
But so the media does that, and we'll certify the results at the end. We'll see what happens when we actually get all the votes counted.
So you stay neutral no matter what.
Oh, yes.
I guess that's a good approach to take. So let me ask this. What if someone sent in a vote by mail ballot, but hasn't been processed yet and hasn't heard? I've heard from a couple of people online saying, hey, I'm afraid I have yet to hear, and I turned in my ballot last week. What advice do you give to them?
I would just say be patient.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, we have over 100,000 ballots probably to process. And that really does mean that it's going to take time.
Yeah.
So we always get a huge number of ballots back right around election day. And we work as quickly as we can, but vote by mail ballots are time intensive. We signature check every one of them, and then we're hand extracting them to make sure that only one ballot is in there.
Right.
We have to unfold them, prep them for the scanning, and then of course go through and scan them. So it's going to take us a couple weeks to get through that volume of ballot, but we do encourage people to sign up for ballot tracks, so you will get notified when we do that signature checking.
It's a great service. But what happens if you now encounter somebody who didn't sign their ballot properly, or there was some question? What happens in that case?
We will still mail people a letter, and then we'll also reach out via phone or email if we have that information in the voter record, and let them know their signature didn't match or they forgot to sign, and they have an opportunity to cure that. So this year it's going to be up until 5 p.m. on December 2nd.
Okay.
They can get that cure information into us. If they do, we'll be able to count that vote.
That's great. So hold tight. Just be patient, and you will have an opportunity to correct if there is a mistake there.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a good message to send. And I also want to call attention to a feature that you have on your website that I love. And it's on your live election results site, where you provide a precinct map in which each race users can click on specific precincts around the county and see how that area voted on everything from the presidential race on down to local ballot measures. Tell us about this.
It was a map results website that we decided to add, and it's been great. We heard from a lot of people that they really wanted visual results, and it also gives people the opportunity to download results. So it's been great. We've gotten great feedback on it, and it has a lot of information about the results and all the races. It's really easy to read, easy to visualize.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we like it.
Well, I'm one of those geeks. I love to see how certain areas the county vote on certain things. But
I love maps.
Yeah, I
so-
love too. But I usually don't expect that to come out for weeks later. And now to have it so early is pretty cool.
Yeah,
even though it's not final.
Correct. We're still processing ballots.
Yeah.
And, so that information will get updated every time we do a new post. So.
Yeah. Well, I encourage people to go to your website, the live election results, Sonoma County. Just Google it, and it'll take you to that site. So, and so, is this the first time you've had this feature?
No, we've actually had it since 2019.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Where have I been? I missed out on that. I just didn't click the right button there. So I'm always also curious. Did you have observers watching the ballot counting this year?
Yes, we've had a lot of observers coming through, a lot of questions. We try to be very transparent, as I've mentioned before.
I know you have.
So we invite people in, and we have had a lot of interest and a lot of observation.
Okay.
There,
and are they still watching?
Yes, we're still getting observers. We'll expect them throughout the canvass period.
Okay.
But maybe not to the same extent. We usually have more interest prior to Election Day.
Yeah.
Then it falls off a little bit. But we will still have people observing the process.
Okay. Any complaints from anybody about fraud or anything?
I won't say necessarily complaints. We always get feedback from people about what they think we could do better. Some things we can't control in terms of processes and everything like that. But we always get a lot So we try to do what we can to improve our processes every time. So.
Well, it always strikes me as very interesting that, given all the unfounded claims of election fraud that we've heard leading up to this election, that, given the outcome, everyone seems to agree this time that our election process is free and fair and secure.
I hope so.
I think hopefully we can start with that going forward and just accept the fact that you guys do a good job, and your colleagues across the nation, to protect the integrity of our voting process.
Yes, we have a lot of really fantastic election officials that
work
very hard.
Hopefully we can now agree on that. So going forward, anyway. And so tell me, when do you expect to certify the results?
This year, the legislature actually passed a law, so we will be certifying on December 3rd.
Okay.
So no sooner.
Okay.
But that's our plan.
Okay. And do you expect to have your tally done before then, or is that?
We'll have the majority of the results. It'll be waiting for those special cases, the cure letters and stuff like that. So
the odds and ends.
Once we get the majority of the vote by mails processed, then we should see very little changes until we certify the election. But, we can have people curing their signature up to December 2nd.
Okay. So they'll have that deadline still exists.
Yes.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to share about how the process is going? I can't say in past tense because you guys are still working, but and any advice to listeners for next time?
I would just say, be patient. Our aim is accuracy. And we know people want fast results, but we need to do our due diligence. We have a lot of steps that go into the certification process, a lot of reconciliations, obviously a lot of ballots to process. We have a manual hand count that we do on random batches to make sure everything looks good in terms of the computer counts. So we just ask that people be patient.
Yeah.
And then for next time, just remember, the earlier you get those ballots in, the more results we will have on election night, and the shorter time periods for getting the bulk of the results up. So get those votes in early.
Well, I will say it's very gratifying to get that little message that says your vote has been received, your ballot has been received, and your vote has been recorded. And I'm like, okay, now I'm done. I don't have to worry about this anymore.
Yes, it's a great feature for people.
It is a fantastic feature. Well, thank you, Deva, once again for being with us, and congratulations on all your work. I shouldn't congratulate you yet. I know there's still work ahead, but it seems like everything is going smoothly, and I want to thank you for coming in. Now, I know you have one of our SoCo Chat mugs, but I'm going to give you your selection of some of our from our SoCo Chat swag vault. I'm going to let you pick something that you would like to go with it. And to our listeners, we want to give you a chance to get maybe one of our water flasks or mugs. You too will have a chance to pick this time. If you can answer this week's trivia question. And once again, our trivia question relates to what was on the ballot, which relates to the question about the Bay Area has seen a number of recall measures on the ballot on Tuesday. How many states in addition to California allow recall elections of state officials at any time? You might be surprised if you don't know the answer to this. If you do, call us at 565-2242 or email us at publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. And as always, please include your phone number so that we can get back to you and let you know if you won. Also, if you have comments about this or any other suggestion for a topic for a future SoCo Chat discussion, please email us at that same address, publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you all. We hope you continue to follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and of course, YouTube. And be sure to check out the Registrar of Voters website for election results. It's a great interactive site. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Deva.
Thank you.